Hi, I'm Susan Epstein. I'm here today with my daughter Linda Epstein, a lifelong sailor, who today happens to be behind the camera. What follows is a brief, naughty introduction to what every sailor should know. What not to use, when and where, and for what purpose. To not reinvent the wheel, I have decided to do some brief demos of knot tying with a little spiel about each knot that I tie, and a caveat for some of them, the do's and don'ts of using a particular knot. In addition to that, I'm going to give you the link to the Boat US website's knot tying video section. Boat US, as many of you know, has been a long-time supporter of National Women's Sailing Association. Additionally, you may check out a myriad of other videos that are on YouTube. So now let's move on to the knots themselves. So let's get started now with each of the knots. We've got 6 essential knots here. A figure 8, a double figure 8, square knot, a sheet bend, a bowline, a clove hitch, and I'll show you this later. So let's get started on tying and the purpose for each one. So here we are with the knots, and the first knot is the figure 8 knot. And when do we want to use that? We want to use it so the line doesn't leave where we want it to stay, like in a block. And let me make the figure 8, and there you go. Now that's all right if I wanted to hang up some.
Oh, you got to keep it in one place.
So that's okay on some boats, but on my boat, which is a 30-foot racing boat, International 210, I prefer to use the double figure 8 knot. It is bigger. In my mind, it is more reliable on my boat. And I will put this through the block, and I will use this in any place on my boat except on a spinnaker sheet, because if I want that spinnaker to go, it's going to go. So here, now you can see this is not going to pull through any kind of pressure. Okay, so I need a piece of line that's longer than this, and I do have this, but look at the middle. Well, a figure 8 knot in the middle of this line can make the whole difference here. There's the 8 right there. Put that through, pull through, and there you have a good repair. And I would even tow my boat with this. So now we're going to look at how to tie a square knot, sometimes called a reef knot. And the mantra to think about is right over left, and left over right. And there you go. Now, what happens if you don't follow that? Well, you notice how beautiful and symmetrical that knot is? It's also easily untied that way, or break its back, and it's easier. So when it's not tied properly, and you get what's called a granny knot. A granny knot is not very pretty, and I don't know, I'm a granny. I'm glad I don't look like this, but this is what you get, and this is the kind of a knot that will jam up under tension, pressure, and you won't be able to get it untied. A landlubber's use for a square knot is to tie a decent-looking a bow tie. My husband's bow ties came out lopsided till I taught him how to tie a square knot, which is right over left, left over right, and there you go.
Beautiful.
Isn't that beautiful? I'd go anywhere with Jim if he did this. Now, I want to put these two lines together, but they're not similar diameter by far. So let's see, I don't think I can use the square knot, right over left, left over right. And there it is, a square knot. And whoops. So how can I get these two tied together? So to tie two lines of different diameter, you need to do a sheet bend. And here is how to tie a sheet bend. You go around, and then you go under itself, and you pull, and yeah. And when this is under tension, you will have no trouble with it. So this is a bowline, and you can see it's been properly tied, and you will see that because it's nice and symmetrical, and it has parallel lines. And this knot is probably the safest one. For me, I feel the most secure when I know I've tied a bowline to something, especially tying the boat up to a mooring, a dock, a towboat. So let's see how you properly tie a bowline. And as with many knots, there is more than one way. So now I'm going to show you how to tie a bowline. I tie it. I start out with thumb underneath and forefinger on top, and I just roll, roll, roll. And you see the loop, and the bitter end comes out of the loop, goes around the standing end, and comes back in the loop. Now, that's the way I tie it, taught by my big brother when I was a very small child. Now, you'll notice how easy it is to break when you intend to. However, now we're going to tie it the way a lot of people tie it. They make the loop first, and they put the bitter end up through the loop, around the standing end of the line, and back in the loop, and pull. Now, you can pull on that and pull on that and put all kinds of tension on it, and it's not going to go anywhere. And there it is, nice and symmetrical. Now, how about the uses? I mentioned the tying to the dock and towing, but what happens if I need a tow line that's longer than this piece that I have? Well, easy. I just grab another line on the boat, and I put it through and tie another bowline, and now I've extended my tow line. Now, what for me is a very important use of my bowline, and why tying it properly and quickly is so important. I've fallen overboard. Help! I fell overboard. My crew, my crew threw me a line, and I grabbed the line, and I wanted a knot that wasn't gonna break and wasn't gonna slide so it would get tighter and tighter on me. I wanted a loop that she could then use to pull me right up to the boat safely and smartly. So that was the bowline. Well, now we come to the clove hitch, which is pretty. And you'd want to use the clove hitch to hang a bumper off your boat, to hang some buoys in your boathouse off of something. And another use for a clove hitch is to tie up around a post. You would make these a little bigger so you could just drop them over. However, let's see how to tie it this way, because like other knots, there's more than one way to tie a clove hitch. So we put this around the rail, we come across, we go around another time and go under itself, and then you just pull, and there you go with a nice secure clove hitch. So here is another way to tie a clove hitch if you need to tie it to a piling, and I hope the piling on your pier is bigger than the foot of this table rather. So here we go. Let's see how you tie it. You make two knots, two loops, and you want to put the two loops together, one on top of the other. And you'll notice that the reason you do it like this is both lines are going to get trapped between the two loops. And then you can drop it over the piling, and it's secure. So once again, you make two loops, one on the top, one underneath, like so, and then put this one on top of that one, and you can make this as big as you want to go over however big your piling is, and there it is. So this concludes the naughty part of Olay. I'm so glad that you were here, and I'm so glad I was here. I hope you enjoy wherever it is that you're going to use your knots and have a naughty good time.